I recently put out a video doing a quick overview of the new gameplay for Tears of the Kingdom, and in that video I said I would be breaking down the gameplay in depth. Well, buckle your seatbelts because this is it. The gameplay begins not far from the dueling peaks, and if you look at the minimap here, it has X, Y, and Z coordinates. This is brand new for Tears of the Kingdom. This was not in there for Breath of the Wild. This is how you'll tell where you are on the map as well as how high you are in the air because we obviously have sky islands now. This is very, very helpful for YouTubers and bloggers who are trying to make videos telling people where stuff is, as well as just people wanting to tell their friends where stuff is. Beside of that, we still have the same temperature and sound gauge we had in Breath of the Wild, which is cool to see come back. It seems that you still have to unlock the map like before, as it is grayed out in this shot here. You can also look at the D-pad, which we see now has weapons, shields, and materials. The L button seems to have all of your abilities, and we'll see more of those as the trailer goes on, and I'll mention each one. In the background here, you see a Sheikah tower. It does look different from the towers in Breath of the Wild because they do glow. We don't know exactly why these look so different, but it's clear that they do. We've seen a lot of these in the last Tears of the Kingdom trailer when it was dark and raining, and we see another one as Link rides through the field here. Here there are enemies off in the distance, and these seem to be construct enemies that we see in the Sky Islands later on, but it's very interesting that they're also on the ground in Hyrule. Notice Eiji Aonuma does have this new shield here that seems to represent the Tears of the Kingdom, and also a new bow that has major Zonai aesthetic. I'm a huge fan of the way this bow looks as well as the other Zonai aesthetic in this game. There's the obvious landmass here to the left, but notice the camera is a little off center and there are tons more in the distance behind this cloud. There seems to be so many sky islands in this game, it's going to be absolutely crazy discovering them all. We do see the swirly green shrine-like buildings, and honestly, if these aren't shrines, I'm not entirely sure what they are unless they're just fast travel points. Now we get a view of the dueling peak stable, and it is emitting smoke out of the mouth of the dragon on top. Not sure what the purpose of that is because in Breath of the Wild, they definitely did not do that. Off to the right, we see a Korok with a backpack on it that seems to not be able to get up. The text above it says, "I need to reach my friend." I think this is pointing us to a side quest where we'll have to help this specific Korok make it back to their friend, obviously. And I don't know if this means there won't be hidden Koroks in the game, but it would be cool to see them utilized more, especially in side quest form. Ashley and I love the Koroks. Beetle is back, as you can see him sitting here in the shadows. We do see some NPC kids here as well, more NPCs by the fire, and the dog. Now, off to the left here, we do see some purple mist coming from something. This is new, and I actually have no idea what this could be. There's no clear indicator of what it is, and I can't really make out what it is because it's so far off. There is a Bokoblin camp here to the left, and Aonuma then shows that we can ride the falling rocks back up with our time reversal ability called Recall. The symbol for the Recall ability is right here in the top left. We see the Bokoblin camp as he rises, but maybe the most important thing to note here is that this is a very good shot of the building with swirly green stuff that we've seen in these old trailers. It definitely does seem to have an entrance to it. This could possibly be one way we can get underground, as in the last trailers we do see that you can go underground. And I noticed that this specific one is located on a mountain, and it would be cool to be able to go underneath the dueling peaks. Now, very quick, there are some platforms here on the side of the dueling peaks mountain, and behind them is that same Zonai aesthetic we've seen all throughout the game. Now, I don't know what significance this may hold, but it's definitely there, and they subtly showed it for some reason. Maybe if we're inside of these dueling peaks via that shrine-like building we talked about earlier, these could be something to do with what's going on inside the mountain. The Sky Island that he does jump to has 3 square structures resembling Zonai architecture. We'll see more of these later on as well. When the camera pans out, we see that storm cloud we did see in a lot of the past trailers here. The big Sky Island behind Link has that really long pole structure ascending from it, making it seem like you can go even higher than we already are. And we are already super high in the air at this point. We did see a pole like this in one of the past trailers as well. Now, right as Link lands, there is a spot of green mist coming from the ground below. And this is definitely not the swirly mist above the shrine-looking buildings that we've seen. This looks like a vapor of some sort. When Link lands on this platform, it's clear that it is a Zonai structure. As you can see the dragon head here, which we've seen so much from the ruins of the Zonai in Breath of the Wild. And if you watch my initial video for this gameplay, you'll notice that I mentioned how the OLED for Tears of the Kingdom shows off the circles as well as a sharp line aesthetic, and about how this could represent 2 different realms for the game. Now, I feel like we're really seeing these 2 aesthetics combined here. The circle's clearly in the middle and the sharp lines along the edge. This is clearly both Zonai aesthetic, but I wonder if maybe this could symbolize something in this game. The same way the Ouroboros logo for the game itself is symbolism. We see some Malice vapor in the distance, which we have seen before, but this makes me wonder why the green mist was there. Is the Malice for Ganon and the green mist for the Zonai? Are there 2 enemies in this game? Are the Zonai helping us or are they helping Ganon? There is so much confusion. As Aonuma states there are many ways to get into these Sky Islands, the camera subtly shows a dragon stops, and then moves again. Now, come on, Aonuma, don't mess with us and act like we can ride these dragons. How cool would that be? That would be insane. We then get a clear shot of this storm cloud hovering above the Farron region, and Aonuma is basically screaming Zonai in our face at this point. All we know about the Zonai, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Zonai, is that they are a mysterious race that vanished a long time ago. They left some architecture behind in Breath of the Wild that you can go find for yourself that a lot of us Zelda fans have theorized about for years. And it's clear that they're a big theme in Tears of the Kingdom. He's standing on a clear Zonai structure, especially since it has the dragon head, looking over at the Farron region, which has tons of Zonai ruins, and looking at this mysterious storm cloud that was shown before, and it's hovering over the Farron region. This storm cloud clearly has some significance. I mentioned before that in this cave painting, this creature, which some, myself included, have said was the goddess Hylia, but now I'm thinking is more of a Zonai godlike figure, looks to have rain falling around it. I'd mentioned that these lines could be a depiction of radiance, and it definitely did seem that way. But if this creature is a Zonai creature and they are on a platform in the sky, as clouds are clearly shown, then it would make sense that this is a specific rain cloud here, which now we know has a clear sky island in it. Could this be where this Zonai creature is from this painting? And would it be a far stretch to say that this is symbolic for crying so many tears of the kingdom that it's a massive storm? That may be a stretch, I'm aware. And even if it's not the case, it's super cool that we can see into this storm cloud way better now. And there's definitely clearly an important structure in there. It could just be a trial like Eventide Island. I guess we'll just have to wait until the game releases for us to find out. Now, when the camera changes, we get a clear shot of one of these shrine looking structures. But this time, there is no swirly green stuff. Maybe this means that at this particular moment, Link has not yet completed it. And when the swirly green stuff is there, then he can teleport to it, or vice versa. It seems we are pretty high up here, as I mentioned earlier, but it's clear that there are structures way higher than we are right now. Also note that the minimap is open now. When up here, Aonuma says that just like on the surface, there are many man-made structures up here. And off to the right, when he says that, there seems to be a building you can go in. And you'll see a lot more buildings that look like you can go in them as the gameplay goes on. There also is that tiered building that we've seen and I've wondered what it is for so long here. And I think Aonuma is hinting that there is a civilization up here and people or things living up here. Or maybe that they once did. And I think we'll see that this is true later on in the gameplay. After he says that about man-made structures, he mentions the trees. Kind of an odd thing to mention, but he's right. These trees are different. He made it a point to mention that these trees will not be found on the surface, and to me it seems that this is because these sky islands are from a different realm or time period. That's why they're only up here. It is also important to note that the tree branches are lighter for these trees. Also note that we no longer have recall equipped, but instead have one that looks like a sword with something coming from it. We'll see exactly what this does later. When he picks up a tree branch, you can see that there is a new mushroom species here. That makes sense since this may be a different realm, right? More Zonai structures here as Link climbs the stairs, and then we get introduced to our first new enemy. A construct. This construct has that same yellow logo we have seen all throughout these trailers, the Zonai architecture, and it's clear that this is a Zonai enemy because when Link kills it, he picks up an artifact called Zonai Charge. Take note of its head as well, because when Link kills it, this is an item he'll be able to pick up later as well. He walks closer to the tiered building, but you still can't really tell what it is. When the camera changes, he approaches the structure from a different angle, and then we get a glimpse of what it is. He reminds me of something like the Temple of Time in Breath of the Wild. Could this be where we go to get our hearts and stamina? And why are there multiple levels of this building? Whether it's of significant importance or just a building left in ruins like the Temple of Time, I'm not entirely sure. But there is a reason he went to walk closer to it, then decided they needed to switch angles and get closer another way. It seems to me like there's something in view here that they're wanting to keep hidden. Behind the rock is yet another shrine-like structure without the green swirls. He then shows off Link's new ability to merge the rock with the tree branch called Fuse, which is awesome, and this is what the symbol we seen earlier does. It's easy to get distracted by this ability, even though it is cool, but for a split second, you can see a structure underneath this tiered building has what looks to be a tier logo, just like on the painting of that Zonai creature. And if not that, it's just clearly more Zonai aesthetic. We now have an even better shot of this tiered structure and a pond beside of it. Clearly, these constructs don't want you to be there. He then picks up more Zonai charges after beating them. He picks up a long stick here to fuse it with a pitchfork to create a long weapon, and this should come in very handy for us as we play the game. It then shows that we can fuse arrows with materials in our inventory, which is also pretty amazing. He doesn't shoot the leaf arrow for some reason, and it is called a Korok frond, so maybe this has something to do with the significance of the Koroks in this game. I don't really know what special thing this leaf could do other than creating a wind effect though. The amber he scrolls by does look very different than it did in Breath of the Wild, maybe so that we can fuse it and make the arrow more sharp, creating more damage. And I usually just sold the amber in Breath of the Wild, so it's cool that it may have a different use in this game. It seems like we'll have to decide if the money is worth it or if the extra damage is worth it. He showed off what it's like to use a white chew jelly to use the arrows to freeze your enemies. Then when he showing off shooting the birds, I'm pretty sure the tiered structure is behind him if you look at the minimap. When he goes to attach the eyeball to the bow, we see the construct's horn from earlier, as well as what seems to be the horn from another type of construct, both of which look like they'll give you more damage when attached to your arrow. We see a strange ball of green rock substance that we've never seen before here as well. He shoots the birds with the eyeball attached, and I really think this is a useful ability. I would probably use this a lot. He mentioned that fuse could be beneficial to hunting, maybe putting a piece of meat or a bird thigh on an arrow to draw an enemy closer and then shooting it. Next shot is footage of a fused puff shroom, which enemies can attack and creates a puff of smoke so they can't see you to attack you, and then you can walk behind them and do a sneak attack. Off in the distance of the slow pan, you can see more man-made structures and more of the sky islands, which just look incredible and crazy. I really did not expect these sky islands to feel so massive, but they feel huge and like a whole world in itself. I just remember how big the Great Plateau was when I first played, and then jumping off it and being immersed in an even bigger world. So to sort of have multiple Great Plateaus seemingly floating in the sky is going to be crazy. We see what seems to be winged creature statues in a line behind Link, possibly lining a walkway or a bridge. Then when the camera stops, we see a long rail going from one side of the sky island to the other. We did see Link skateboarding on rails in one of the past trailers, so this could be one way we travel between the islands. Now here's something very, very interesting that Ashley pointed out to me as we watched this. I'm not one to watch minimaps very often in any game, so thank God for her. If you look at the minimap in this scene, you can see what at first seems to be the blue logo for a shrine in Breath of the Wild. But there is a notable difference. It is not the exact same logo. While this could just be an upgraded logo, we are thinking that this could possibly be a logo for a dungeon or some other gimmick in this game. And guys, they're really making it a point to avoid seeing this location with their camera angles, all the while showing off other amazing abilities to distract us. But if you go back to the right after the pan before he shows how the puff shroom works, there is a flight of stairs that seems to lead up to whatever this blue logo is. I know a lot of people wanted dungeons for this game, and there are a couple instances throughout this trailer that I'll point out that shows these blue logos, and each time they make it very secretive and make sure they don't let you see it. We obviously won't know if whatever these are sort of like shrines where you go in through a building on top to enter a structure below, but we have seen obvious underground footage in the last trailer. So somehow, some way we're getting underground, be it by whatever in these blue logos or by these green swirly shrine looking structures. It is possible that it could just be a big building we enter that is a dungeon or a trial, but either way, it's exciting to see that there is something here and know that they're keeping it secretive for an unknown reason. Now, Aonuma has a wooden stick, a new weapon in this game, and he fuses it to a log, also a new item for this game. We see a random cell laying on the ground, so this is how we'll be able to use the Ultrahand, which we'll see later, to create our sailboats. And throughout this trailer, there are random points with building materials, so it seems that these things that we need to create vehicles with are just kind of laying around for us. The next scene, we're immediately met with Link standing in front of water and rails coming down from one of the sky islands. So it definitely does seem like there will be a lot of ways that we travel between the sky islands. Link's ability section now just shows a hand. We'll find out later that this is the Ultrahand. Taking another look at the minimap, we see another blue dungeon logo, and we see a logo in the form of the stables and shops that is a battery. We know that some of these items indicate their stamina with a battery, so maybe this is where we'll go to up the stamina of our vehicles that we craft so we can fly between sky islands or way up in the sky. So does this mean that we'll have NPCs on the sky islands? We'll see more on that later. Directly behind where Link is standing, there is a brown cave looking logo with a check mark on it. From what I've seen, these are just that, caves. He does turn around to face this cave, but it is covered by this huge mountain. He then lifts up the log to create a makeshift raft, showing off that you can attach and detach stuff. And another interesting thing is that in the distance, we get a better view of these Zonai structures, and they seem to be the exact same ones that he landed on when he first went to the Sky Islands. So it seems that we will even be able to use these items this big to create vehicles and whatnot as well. This fan he uses has the same logo as the constructs and a lot of the other enemies and materials in this game. We also see that the fan has a battery indicator that depletes over time, and when it stops, it recharges. After they are attached, if he hits one fan, they both turn on. And it seems that is whatever attached with the green goo is related and will work all together. When Link gets to the other side of the river, things get pretty crazy. Let's just start off with the obvious thing, the minimap. There is so much going on the minimap. We have one of those dungeon type logos, we have the battery shop logo, we have all the crazy Sky Island levels, and we have the cave logos. But we also have what looks like a shop logo. And in front of that, there's a pool of green aura. Now the pool of green aura, I have no idea what it is, other than maybe that these are the sort of green substances you have to collect, and maybe that's why there was green mist way earlier in the trailer. Could be used for the vials on Link's hip, could be used for things like the green goo to stick the items together, or maybe even to help the battery of the items. He never goes up close for us to see what it is. As for the shop, it could mean that there are NPCs on these islands or something else we'll see later. And speaking of NPCs, look at what is standing right here. Link goes to get off the raft and we see a ranger construct. Now, this construct does not attack Link, but instead gives Link the ability to talk to him. And man, oh man, this creates all sorts of confusion. Why do some constructs want to attack Link and some don't? Why does this one look so different? It has the exact same logo as all the other Zonai items and creatures. It also has arms like the constructs that attack. So could it be that maybe some of these constructs are corrupted by Ganon and it would work like the Guardians in Breath of the Wild? I did see someone mention that it could be because Link has Malice on his arm, and all these Zonai constructs know to do is to destroy Malice, since we do see the hand that is a clear Zonai hand stealing Ganon away in the very first trailer. We now see a stand bulb, which is a new item for this game. We then see Link building a sailboat that can fly, more rails in the air, and we see another blue dungeon logo. And the next shot on the minimap, we see more pools of that green stuff. And these buildings do look like ruins, not like they're occupied by anyone. He then shows that you can go through them with the Ascend ability. You can see that logo at the top left. Notice you do have to jump out of the ceiling once you go through it. This may be useful for sneaking up on enemy camps or for hunting. We see yet another shrine looking object without green swirls, and when he turns here at the very top left of the screen, you can see another Zonai enemy standing inside what looks to be a circle. Not sure if they 100% meant to show this, but it does have the same boxes we've seen from an enemy in the past trailer. So this may be the exact same enemy we've seen earlier, just in a sleep state. We see another floating object, and it seems that these floating objects are possibly connected to the rails. Now when he goes into the cave, if you look at the minimap, he is entering one of those cave logos we've seen earlier. Now, it seems at first that there's nothing significant in this cave other than that there is another one of these NPCs, a ranger construct. There is a cooking pot, and it seems that this may be how we get underground like the trailer showed before, because it does look like you can explore more of the cave to the left. So maybe that's how the check mark gets here. You have to complete the dungeon, cave, or whatever this is. It seems like there's so many ways we're going to be able to get underground or to do trials in this game, because we have the caves, we have the blue logos, and we also have those swirly green shrine looking objects. There's a dead construct to the right in this cave, so that's kind of dark considering this ranger construct is just kind of standing here. But Link decides to dip out because he can go all the way through the mountain, which is amazing. When he gets to the top, he becomes unbearably cold, and when he turns around, you can see a sphere on a statue. I'm not sure if maybe this is just there for looks, or maybe there's some significance to it. Maybe you can teleport to it, or maybe this is the item logo we see on the mini map, as it does look like it is in that general direction. Aonuma really then suddenly and oddly mentions when talking about the Ascend ability, imagine you're stuck in a cage and you need to go through the ceiling. You know what to do. Excuse me, Aonuma? That's a very specific and odd scenario to mention here. So this clearly has to be hinting towards something, whether it's a main story quest or a side quest or something that is going to play out a lot in this game. As he walks toward another construct, we can see he's walking towards another cave. Clearly they're wanting us to see these, and these have to be a pretty big part of the game. The construct is holding a fused weapon, which is really cool, but he then pushes Link off of the edge, which is cool because apparently you can do whatever you want in this game. As he falls, you can see pools of Malice on the ground, something we've also seen before. You can see another tower. We see the dueling peaks to the right. And as he shows the map and spans through it, it literally looks bigger than the Hyrule we had in Breath of the Wild. That blows my mind, and I know I've heard so many people say that this game looks just like Breath of the Wild. There's not a significant difference. But remember, they want to make this game as magical as Breath of the Wild. They're not wanting to show too many spoilers for this game. That much is obvious. So they're not going to show many of the other parts of Hyrule other than the Sky Islands because they are newer and there's not much there that we've seen, just to keep the game fresh since we have already played on the Breath of the Wild map before. And guys, at this part, it looks like there's tons of mountains extending past the Hyrule we knew from Breath of the Wild. And Eiji Aonuma did say that the expanded world goes past the land and skies that we've already seen. And this may just be the hours I've spent poring over this gameplay, but why does the old Hyrule here look like it's floating as well? It's like the old Hyrule is the original Great Plateau. I'm not saying that's 100% the case because there is stuff disproving that, but it does look crazy from so high up. I know they're going to have to put in a lot of visual mountains that we won't be able to explore in the distance since we are going to be so high up in the air in these Sky Islands. So maybe that's why it looks like this. And this shot of the beach here to the right does disprove that this is floating because the beach wouldn't be there if Hyrule was floating, but it would still be super cool if the old Hyrule was basically the Great Plateau for this game. Being able to speed up as you go towards the ground is pretty amazing too. And this shot of the dueling peaks just makes me remember how high up I felt whenever I was on top of the dueling peaks, but now we're going to be so much higher than the dueling peaks. When he gets out, we see more of these materials stacked, and we also see one of these flying enemies carrying a bokoblin in the background. Then the trailer ends. Now, one thing I did want to mention is that although Link is wearing this older attire here throughout the whole gameplay, he does have that vials of green liquid on his hip. So I assume this would negate any theories that these were two different Links, because previously we've only really seen the Link with the old attire wearing these vials. There's so much to be said about this gameplay, and if you guys would like to see more videos, be it theory videos, in-depth videos, just talking more about Tears of the Kingdom before it's released, as well as a lot of videos when Tears of the Kingdom does release, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of them. You guys have an awesome day, and God bless.